This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with guitarist Ben Jackson of the progressive metal act Crimson Glory. Today we're talking about the upcoming Crimson Glory album, Chasing the Hydra, which comes out on April 17th through BraveWords Records. This is your first new album in 27 years. The band was reactivated in 2023 with vocalist Travis Wills at the helm. What brought Crimson Glory back from dormancy?
Well, Jeff and Dana and I are the three original founding members, and we got to talking about this a few years ago and how we've all been missing it. And we've, been keeping ourselves busy with other side projects and solo efforts through the years while Crimson Glory was dormant. But really just the time came and the time felt right that we really wanted to bring the band back and become active again.
Since your last album, Astronomica, there's been a lot of start and stops with Crimson Glory, a couple of different vocalists, and of course the passing of your original vocalist, Midnight. Come 2023, when you wanted to put this all back together, were there some guys that were a little apprehensive about giving it another go?
Well, when Todd, our last vocalist, left in 2012 to join Queensryche, I was speaking to Jeff and Dana about continuing on, and at that time, Jeff was a little apprehensive, and he was also working on a solo project of his own that he was very passionate about. So I guess that's why it took a few years since Todd left in 2012 that, it just finally got everybody was on the same wavelength and mindset about bringing it back now. So there was no apprehension anymore when we spoke. The three of us spoke about it three or 4 years ago. We were all kind of feeling the same, thinking the same.
How did you come to find your new vocalist, Travis Wills?
Well, we looked at a few other singers originally when we first got the idea to bring the band back. We looked at a couple European guys that were, really great singers. And eventually our search led us to Travis, and he lives in Dallas, Texas. He sings with a band called INFIDEL Rising. They're really good, and he sounds really good with them and kind of caught our attention. A similar style to what we were looking for. And so we reached out and talked to Travis a little bit, and he sent us a version of himself singing one of our classic songs, Painted Skies. And we really liked the way he presented it. It sounded really good. We're like, wow, so do a couple more for us. And he sang a couple more for us. And that just kind of took off from there. And we thought he was the guy, and we just kind of moved on it.
When you started to get the ball rolling in 2023, you released a single, Triskaideka, which is actually on the new album as well.
Yeah.
When was the decision made to do an entire album?
Right at that time, when we decided we'd bring the band back. We didn't want to come back again and be a nostalgia act, because we kind of felt like that's what we did when we had Todd in the band. He came in with us during 2010, 11, and 12, and we did a bunch of touring with Todd over in Europe. But we were only playing old material, and there was a new album in the talks, but it just never really came to be. And this time around, Jeff and Dana and I really felt we don't want to come back again and just announce, hey, we're back, and come see us play the old material. If we're going to be back, we want to present the world with a new album, a full-length album. So that was the goal from the very get-go on this reunion, to put out a new album.
So when it comes to the songwriting of Chasing the Hydra, is everyone involved, or do you have primary songwriters?
We have participation from everybody, yes, but Jeff has really been primary on this album, is writing a lot of the music and themes. Travis writes a lot of the lyrics and melodies on the record, and I co-wrote a couple of songs with the guys and have songwriting credits for a couple of the songs myself, as well as Dana, the drummer, is credited as a writer on a couple of the songs. So it's a bit of a mixed pot of everybody giving their ideas in, and everybody gets their ideas used. But I will, give Jeff a lot of credit. He wrote a lot of the record. A lot of the new record was penned by him, in the music and in the music department, the riffs and the music.
Did Jeff and the rest of the guys kind of start with a clean slate when it came to songwriting, or was there some material that's been
Yeah.
unfinished over the last 27 years that you kind of got to the end to?
No, it was a very clean slate. We didn't have any older ideas from the past. We concentrated on everything being new. And when we first talked about, let's do this, right away I gave the guys a couple of demos with some parts I had written, and Jeff gave us a demo with a bunch of songs he had written, and we just listened to them, and we said, "Hey, I like this one," or they said, "Hey, I like that one of mine," and we just kind of started running with a couple of them. Triskaideka was the first song that I gave the guys. That was an idea I had, the title and the theme for the song, and some riffs I had, and I let Dana and Jeff hear them. They liked it right away. They said that's really Crimson-y sounding. So Jeff came in and wrote a bunch of cool parts for that song, and the other guys put all their various flavors into it. But that was actually the first song that we finished as a full song. And then Indelible Ashes was one that Jeff had, and we all liked that one. So we all put our efforts in and around that song. So those were the first two we had um, written and recorded, and then we went ahead and just finished out the rest of the record from there.
Well, since you were responsible for Triskaideka, why don't you tell me a little bit about what the theme is on that one?
Well, like the term triskaidekaphobia means the fear of the number 13. So I wanted to write a song about that. It's like a very it's a long time thing. It's been, centuries old, and people around the world just have this fear that the number 13 is very unlucky. So I told the guys that'd probably be a cool theme to write a song about, and kind of a dark, mysterious subject matter. And then Jeff thought, well, let's go a little further. Let's write it around, just superstitions in general. So it touches on the subjects of like black cats and broken mirrors and other things in the song as well. That it's just kind of a song about superstitions. And but we went ahead and went with the title Triskaideka because originally the idea was to just write it about the number 13 being unlucky.
It's funny you mentioned the black cats thing. I actually have two black cats. They are least likely to be adopted at shelters because of the superstition.
Yeah, I think that's odd. I mean, the black cats make wonderful pets. Some people just fear them, as being unlucky.
Now, the album Chasing the Hydra, there's also a song titled that. So I assume this was an important song to the band. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, it's the title song. Yeah, Jeff had the idea to use this subject about the seven-headed dragon in mythology, the Hydra. And so the song kind of took on other meanings as Travis delved into the lyric writing. Some of it comes from more of a personal place in his life and some of his own life experiences. So the song really just has a lot of different meanings as far as the lyrical content, and what people may take from it could be different things. But overall, I kind of look at it as like, he mentions in the song there's seven heads to conquer and things like that. I feel like it's the dragon that Crimson Glory has been battling through our whole career, and we cut one head off, and there's six more. Then we have to cut off another one, and there'll be six more to conquer because the life in the band it's been really cool, but also a bit rocky for us with losing a member that who passed away, and other members who fall in and out or lose interest and shut it down. I mean, so Crimson just chasing the Hydras could be more like a metaphor towards the band just battling all its issues one by one until we eventually come out on top.
So, from what I've seen, you're getting a lot of great feedback from the songs that you have released. I've heard the whole album. It's actually pretty good. Were you surprised at the positive reaction from what you've been putting out? Because you've been out of the game for a bit.
Yeah, a little surprised, happily surprised. I mean, you really never know what you're going to get from people when you put out something new and it's been a long time. I think we all felt pretty confident that that the stuff we were writing together was really good and strong, and we could sense that it had a lot of that style and essence of the first two albums, especially the second one, because we set out to do that. It was like an intention, just our intention to write and recapture our style of the album that the fans seemed to love the most, which was Transcendence. So it was sort of an intentional effort. But when the record came out, we really didn't know, if people would love it or just like it a little bit or not at all. We just had to see.
Now,
Everybody's really loving it.
it's something to be proud of for sure. It's being released through BraveWords Records, which kind of has its niche and kind of bringing back those classic names and those classic bands. How did you end up signing with the label?
Well, I'm friends with Giles Lavery, and I've known him quite a while. I'm friends with Tim Henderson, known him quite a while, and they reached out to us, and when they heard we were working on a new album, and they said we'd like to talk a deal with you guys and tell you what we could do for you. And the more we talked with them, and we were speaking with maybe another label or two as well, but we just kind of liked their approach to how they wanted to do things with the band, and of course their ability to promote through their amazing heavy metal news site, which is an ace in the hole for us, because anything that happens with the band, we can give the world complete news about it in an instant, by being with a label like Brave Words. So that's kind of how it came to be, and we're happy to be working with these guys.
Starting in May, Crimson Glory is going to be hitting the festival circuit. How much of the new album do you plan to play?
Probably 4 or 5 tracks from the new album. And it depends on some of the shows. If we're more of an opening band at a bigger festival and our set list is shorter, then we may do, say, 2 or 3 of the new songs. Whereas if it's our day to headline and we can play a longer show, then we might do 5 or even 6 of the new songs, something like that. But we're definitely looking forward to playing the new material for everyone.
So is it your plan, if like the festivals do pretty well, that you may venture out on a headliner or jumping on some other tour?
Yeah, we'll have to see what the future brings. I mean, there's opportunities for tours. A little bit of it hinges on the band having a couple members that have job situations where they just can't go on tour for months on end. So right now we're using the availability of the members that have jobs that can only get off so many days a year to do this type of thing, and we're trying to pick and choose the very best festivals and dates that say we only have these many days we can tour this year. Let's pick the very best. So that's kind of where we're at with this summer. We're on a lot of really good festivals throughout June, July, and August, and it's going to be a great summer to really showcase the band and the new album. But as far as a full tour where we may go out for 3 or 4 weeks solid, we will have to just see, how the next year unfolds and how everybody's availability from their jobs factors into that.
Any nerves going into these festival shows after being, well, not touring on a scale such as this big?
Honestly, no, not for me, because I'm, bit of a veteran at this. I mean, I like to go out and do this, and I enjoy it so much. I don't really get nervous about anything. I don't think the other guys do really either. I knew our new guitar player, Mark Borgmeyer, was telling me when he first joined and we did our very first show a couple years ago, Keep It True Rising. He was like, I was a little nervous last night, this is kind of big, for me. But he fell right into it and the nerves all went away. Travis might have been feeling a little bit of nerves on the first couple shows with us too, but I think he's become very comfortable and that's all gone away. But for me, I mean, and even last year, we did a bunch of shows with Travis over in Europe. Before the album was even out, we already did a bunch of festivals like Sweden Rock and Keep It True and some other, Up the Hammers and some other great festivals. And so I've already sort of refound my comfort over the last year, playing with the band again. So this summer should be no problem, with the nerves. It'll just be a full explosion of just energy from the band.
I want to hit the time machine on Crimson Glory. I'm going to go back. You mentioned the album Trancedence, 1988. It came out. It's considered to be not only a landmark album for Crimson Glory, but kind of for the progressive metal genre. Everybody seems to cite it as an influence. What do you remember about writing and recording the album?
Well, after the first album, I knew we all really felt like, hey, we have to up our game. We want to make a record that's a little better, and so it was everybody's conscious decision that we wanted to step it up a little bit. And the guys just all started writing. John was writing a lot. Jeff was writing a lot for the record. I co-wrote a song, Mask of the Red Death. I was part of that one. Dana was writing. Dana actually wrote the lyrics for Red Sharks. And so it was a bit of a group effort. A lot of the songs and parts were being created by Jeff, John, and Midnight, but Dana and I also had our participations in it. And we just were just very passionately trying to make something monumental with that record. I mean, we were all just young and full of spirit and just fire. So it just turned out to be something very special that we can always be proud of.
Trancedence was released on two different labels. It was MCA in the United States and Roadrunner, Road Racer in Europe. How did this split end up happening?
Well, actually, it was Roadrunner Records in Europe, handled us in Europe, and Road Racer, as far as I remember, was more of the USA branch of Roadrunner. So the record originally came out on Roadrunner Europe, Road Racer America, but then the Road Racer, I believe, had distribution through MCA, and eventually we were able to just shift the deal from Road Racer completely over to MCA because they saw enough interest in the band that they wanted us to be on the MCA label, and which was kind of exciting for us. It was our first time being on a major label. When I grew up, bands that I admired like The Who and Leonard Skinner were on MCA, and at that point, and I was thinking like, oh, this is very cool. We're actually on MCA Records, but it was sort of short lived. They signed us to their label, and within a year we were dropped. So it was just the way the business goes back then. A year later, the band was signed at Atlantic Records for the Strange and Beautiful record, and a year later they were dropped by Atlantic. So it's at the time back then, it wasn't impossible to get on a major label, but it was pretty hard to stay there, you know?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Now, with Trancedence being your most notable album, why can't I get it anywhere?
Well, I don't know. You should be able to get it if you Google search, where can I buy Transcendence on vinyl, CD? I would think a lot of outlets would pop up, because it's been reissued so many times that I've even seen over the last 10 years on silver vinyl, blue vinyl, new CD formats. There was a record label called Metal Minds Productions that did a big reissue of it some years ago. And now have you, most of these reissues are just done through old licensed Roadrunner has, and they just make reissues every so many years. And the band never really gets told or informed or paid for any of this. But, it's just been reissued over and over again. And I see the reissues when they're out there and when they come out. So, I don't think it would be a very hard record to find in any format if you look for it.
There's no streaming available for it.
Well, it was up on streaming as all the albums were, and we just sort of discovered this a couple months ago that suddenly Transcendence isn't up on Spotify anymore. And we don't really know the reason why it was taken down. We're investigating that right now. I'm sure we'll figure it out because we want all of our records to be available on all the streaming platforms, and the new one definitely will be. And like I said, all the other ones were too, but suddenly someone said, "Hey, Transcendence isn't on Spotify anymore." We're like, "What?" And we don't really know why, to be honest with you, but we're figuring it out.
Is there a point where this album gets reverted back to you, or is it forever in Roadrunner's possession?
This is something that we've been told by some other label friends, that the 30-year thing, where after a record's been out for 30 years, that it does revert back to the band. So and it's been over 30 years. So these are some things we're going to look into with some lawyers, and what we can actually do to retain ownership of our early albums, because we wouldn't mind doing some cool and special re-releases of our own, where we could put some special side notes and other goodies along with the package. I mean, I'm sure we could create a very cool reissue, and maybe even with a couple live versions or re-recorded tracks, or something really interesting. Like I say, a lot of the reissues that I've seen pop up over the years, they've been really not in conjunction with the band or with any of our ideas, or really even any of our consent. So it would be great if we could get control of our own records again now and actually do some reissuing of ourselves.
When Trancedence came out in 1988, who did you guys end up touring with?
We did a tour with Doro from Warlock over in Europe, which was fantastic. We were the opening band for about a month over there with her, and doing a lot of cool venues in Germany and the Netherlands and Switzerland and places like that, and some arenas. And so that was very fun. And then also during that time, we played the Metal Hammer Festival in Germany, which was a big celebration for the Metal Hammer magazine. And Ozzy Osbourne was the headliner on that, as well as Doro was on that, Queensryche, and many other bands. So for us as a young band then to be on a festival like that was very exciting. We also played on the Aardschok Festival that year, which was in the Netherlands, headlined by Queensryche and a lot of other great bands on the bill there. So that year, supporting Trancedence, we did the Doro tour, but we also played on a couple really cool festivals in Europe. That was kind of our first introduction to doing things like that.
When you debuted, you were known for wearing those silver masks. The Trancedence tour, you kind of cut back a bit on the masks, realized they were a little bit cumbersome if you're trying to play a show. And I know now that you guys cut them back even more, still look cool. What is kind of the origins of the silver masks thing?
Well, the idea came about in the early days that, maybe we could have a visual edge, something special to set us apart from other bands. So we went ahead with this mask idea. And it really grew. A lot of people thought it was the coolest thing. Some people thought it was silly, but we went ahead and went with it, went strong with it. Like you said, the first ones were cumbersome, especially in a live situation. The second ones for Trancedence were much cooler, more like an individual designed one for each guy in a Phantom of the Opera style, almost half mask look. Then the band went without them for many years for Strange and Beautiful and Astronomica, and even the return with Todd in 2010, 11, 12. We had no masks then. But when we brought the band back this time with Travis, we talked about doing it again, some sort of a modern version of a mask. And we did a photo shoot, which we all wore these kind of cyber-looking, futuristic-looking chrome masks. And we even went out and did the first two shows wearing them. And I think just the feeling in the band wasn't really mutual, that everybody was embracing the new masks. And some of the guys were digging it, a couple weren't. So we just sort of then at that point stopped wearing them on tour. And the rest of the dates we did with Travis last year, we weren't masked. But sometimes Travis would bring one out and wear a mask for like Lost Reflection, like the encore song. So I don't know if we're going to implement the masks again into the band's style. It seems like they may arise again. They've kind of come, they've gone, they've come back. But I do know if we're going to do something, they'll always be evolving. We'll always come up with a new way to present it, to keep people off guard and surprise them with something different each time.
Now, at the end of the Trancedence touring cycle, you actually left the band. Was this because you guys were dropped from the label, or was there a bunch of things going on?
There was a bunch of things going on really internally. Like John wanted to try some other things with the band. You know, he wanted to do a more commercial, bluesy, Zeppelin rock style for the third album, and it was just something that happened. You know, Dana and I were sort of pushed aside while the band experimented with a different formula. And looking back on it, I don't really want to dwell on it or anything, but it's just something that happened in our history. And I was invited to rejoin the band in '99, and I've been back ever since. And that was just something that happened. Strange and Beautiful era was a little bit of an odd outlet in the band's creativity where they just tried something different, and I wasn't really on board with it.
You did some cool things with your time away from Crimson Glory. You did Parish in Vision in 1995. Tell me a little bit about that project.
Oh yeah, thank you. That's something when Dana and I found ourselves out of Crimson Glory, we said, "Well, what do you want to do now?" So we met this guitar player here where we live named David Edward. He was really great guitar player, and he fit really well with Dana and I and the mindset of the kind of record we wanted to make as a continuation of Transcendence. And so we started working on this record in around '93, and which was resulted in a release in '95. And it was kind of a one-off project because after that the album came out, the singer wanted to return to college and go back to his studies, so the band just sort of ended on a polite note. After the record came out, the band just sort of disbanded politely. But it was came out, the record came out really good. It was recorded at Morrisound with Jim Morris, and has a lot of the stylings of Crimson Glory and the musicality of it. You know, so it received a lot of good reviews and still seems to this day. It's kind of an underknown record. Not a lot of people know about it, but a lot of times when Crimson Glory's out on tour, fans will still show up to see me, and they'll have that in their bag of Crimson Glory records they want signed. They'll pull out the Parish album and they'll look at me. They'll go, "Hey man, you got to sign this. This is a masterpiece." And I'll go, "Thank you." You know, so that was a little cool piece of history, the Parish album. And after that, I've done a few solo CDs. Some of them were more independently done, not even on labels, just kind of little projects that I released on smaller levels, you know. And but had definitely had a good time doing some of those records too. One of the records was called Ben Jackson Group, All Over You. It was picked up on a label, and that one got some pretty good distribution and some pretty good reviews as well.
I listened to it last week. Great album.
Thank you. That was one of the solo efforts I did that at least got a little bit of a more of a worldwide introduction through label support, stuff like that.
Have you ever thought about doing another Ben Jackson Group project?
Yeah, I probably will. You know, I definitely will. I always like to write things that sometimes aren't always right for Crimson Glory, but you know, but maybe right for me because I have a lot of influence through classic rock bands, you know, everything from Aerosmith and Bad Company and Led Zeppelin and bands that were very you know, influential on me as a kid. Later, you know, bands like Iron Maiden and Dio were the inspiration for Crimson Glory. But I think when I do Ben Jackson Group albums, it's more of a reflection of all the music I liked. You know, not just the progressive metal side, but the classic hard rock and just everything I liked from Boston, you know, to just Ted Nugent. I grew up loving a lot of music, and I think when I do my solo records, it sort of reflects all that influence.
So, what do you do for work these days when you're not making music with Crimson Glory?
Well, for many years, I've been a car painter. I do custom paint jobs on motorcycles, cars, guitars. It's just I just painted a sculpture last week for a guy that was for an art display. So it's just something I've been into actually since I was a 15-year-old. When I'm not out on tour with the band, I'm usually at home painting somebody's motorcycle or or somebody's guitar, or doing some custom sculpture, or maybe a car. You know, it's something that's always kept me busy, and
Excellent.
I have a passion for it. Yeah.
Well, Ben, those are all the questions I have for you today. The new Crimson Glory album is Chasing the Hydra. It comes out on April 17th through BraveWords Records. It's a fantastic album, and I wish you the best of luck with it. And I want to thank you for telling me more about it today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was great talking to you.